Hi guys, so I thought I'd come on and have a little chat with you this afternoon. A situation's come into my awareness 3 times in 3 days, and I know that's always a sign that I need to start paying attention and basically thinking about what I might have been thinking about at the time. These, my initial thoughts when these situations have come up. Um, Interestingly, the all the animals where these three situations have come up, I have known in my physical time. Um, if you're on my Animal Magic with Phoenix on the Facebook page, you will know there's a lot of things on there that people send in, either inquiries, advice, but also feedback on readings that I've done, communications that I've done rather. Readings I'm talking with when I work with spirit in a human sense, it's communication with the animals, so it's slightly different. Although I call it that whether I'm working with them that are still here or whether they are already in the spirit realm at Rainbow Bridge. So if you're on there, if you're on my group, you will have heard of Titch and Crystal, and their owner, who is Karen Lee. I've known Karen for a lot of years. I've been working with Crystal and Titch for about the past 10 to 12 years over different things. Both of them have had problems that I've had to address over that period, and some of these things are things that they've been to the vets with and the vet couldn't work out exactly what was causing them. So although they may be presenting with a physical problem, sometimes if it's not an obvious problem, it can be tricky for the vets to work out. They haven't got the time to investigate every possible cause. They will go for the first, this might be this, then we might do blood tests, then we might send you to another animal hospital or something. But very often having a communication can find out what's going on without the need for all these tests. And certainly that proved the point with Titch, and Karen has put his story on about the time he had a problem and the vet couldn't work out what was going on, and he actually showed me his back tooth was there was a problem with it, exactly where the tooth was, and also that he had a lot of pain in his right hip, which the vet later confirmed, and was a little bit gobsmacked how Karen knew exactly what the problem was when he hadn't quite worked it out. So, but that's just one example. I've worked with Crystal as well, his sister. She's had a couple of events where she, being a very wanting to go outdoors cat and a very active cat, Karen had a period where she just suddenly didn't want to go out, which was really, really unusual. So I had a connection with Crystal and found out what stopped wanting to go out. It was a huge, huge bang that she'd heard. Do excuse me. A huge, huge bang that she'd heard at the end of the road. And she told me all about it. It was metal on metal, I heard it all very, very clearly. And then when I fed that back to Karen, and Karen had sort of thought about it a little bit and then heard that there'd been a big crash at the end of the cul-de-sac where they lived. And this is what had spooked Crystal, and she'd sort of thought that was going to happen again every time she went out. So we had a communication. I explained it was a one-off. I explained she didn't need to be frightened of that happening all the time. It was somebody, it was obviously driving recklessly. They did obviously thought they could cut through the estate and it was a dead end. So that solved that. She started going back out again. Unfortunately, very recently, over the last couple of months, both Titch and Crystal have took their transition to Rainbow Bridge. There's more about that on the page if you want to read some more of that. But the bottom line is Karen has lost her 2 babies in a matter of weeks. Yeah. Another animal I'm talking about with this situation, Max, he's Christine Wilde's dog, who again, unfortunately, is now at Rainbow Bridge, is in spirit. He's been in spirit over 12 months, but I know for a fact that that transition and that time since has been so terribly, terribly hard for Chris. And she's asked me numerous times to check in with Max and check how he is and check what's going on, and, things that Max might want to talk about. And every single thing he's given me has made absolute sense, and things that I just couldn't have known. There was an instance last Christmas time, around his birthday, and Chris had messaged me, I'm really struggling, it's this anniversary time and it's a tricky time. And I connected with Max, and he said he'd been doing his absolute best to let his mum know he was still about. Anyway, I'm going to cut it very, very short because I'm not going to get to the point I'm talking about. He said he was going to leave a sign in the right-hand side, I think it was, of the window in the room. And she got up, and basically there was paw prints on the cushions. There hadn't been another dog in the house since Max passed. But where he took me to the right-hand side of the room, Chris had a sound bar that had been working perfectly. And she came to put it on around about the same time these paw prints appeared and this other stuff, random happenings. And next thing, the soundbar had had it. So she said, it's not quite the present I wanted, but absolutely we're having Max's claiming that, because there was nothing else in that corner it could have been. So yeah, so Max has definitely let his presence be felt. Chris has since got another dog called Ollie. We'll talk about some more in a moment. And then the third person is my friend Jo Kay. She's on the group, but she's not put anything on about Badger because there hadn't been any problems with Badger at all. Badger being her cat, or a baby boy, and unfortunately, following some surgery, basic dental surgery, Badger has passed away. Unfortunately, he got really poorly after it, and yeah, unfortunately, he ended up with acute organ failure, and Joe's had to have him put to sleep, which is horrendous. It's horrible when we lose our pets, but he'd been given an absolute clean bill of health before this treatment. So what happened within it, I have had a little chat with Badger and I've passed that on to Joe, but I'm not going to reveal it here because it's not yet for public consumption. But the point is that Badger's gone too. So yeah, different passings and different periods ago that they've passed. However, the whole issue that connects these is the discussion about getting another pet after a pet has passed. Okay, so as I said before, Chris had already got Ollie, so he's gorgeous. I mean, Max was a big, black, handsome, strutting, I don't think he was a full collie, he definitely had collie in him, gentleman, and he was a gentleman. And Ollie absolutely looks like a normal, what I would call a normal black and white border collie. And he's got the cheekiest grin, but I know Chris has put a picture on, so I'll let you look at that yourself. But yeah, so she'd already got him. She was absolutely distraught when Max went. The house felt empty. She was absolutely about as rock bottom as anybody could get. And over the course of the year, it's not got any better for her, basically. And she'd said, I'm not going to get another dog. I can never do that. I can't go through that again. And then she heard about Ollie. The lady that was, I don't know, rescuing Ollie or fostering Ollie had basically said he would be perfect for Chris, but Chris still didn't feel ready. Anyway, the agreement was made that Chris would foster him for a while and see how that went, and until they could find a permanent home for him. Needless to say, it was, as is known in the rescue world, a failed foster, because he got his paws right under the table and ended up that's his permanent abode, and Chris is his new mum. So that's amazing. So obviously he's never going to replace Max. He's never ever going to be Max. He's never going to do the same things as Max. But Chris has got that feeling of love back in her heart, and having somebody to care for and somebody there when you open the door. Because there's nothing worse when you lose an animal, and if it was an only animal or the last animal, you to come in through that empty door and not have that, it's really, really, really hard. And I speak from the heart on that. I've been there. So Chris has already got Ollie. So the other two situations, and it's bizarre how it's happened, is Karen, since Crystal went, which Titch passed before Crystal passed a short while after, but since they've both gone to Rainbow Bridge, again, Karen's been an absolute mess, and she won't mind me saying that, by her own admission. She hasn't been able to eat, she hasn't been able to sleep, she hasn't been able to do anything without being on the verge of tears. And as anybody who's lost pets, lost their babies, which is absolutely what they were to Karen, it's awful. It is a bereavement. It's a grieving process. It's horrible. It's raw. It rips your heart out. And for anybody that's never experienced that feeling, that worry when your babies are ill is beyond comprehension. The amount of times it's just a cat, or it's just a dog, or why don't you go out and buy another one? And when you're thinking, this is my love that's been taken away. This isn't just an animal. So Karen's had a lot of that to deal with as well. But she messaged me last week and she said, I'm really not coping well. Can you possibly communicate with Titch and Crystal? Because everywhere I keep looking and people contacting her, telling her about these kittens that need a home. And Karen had said to me after them, Titch and Crystal went, I'm never having another cat again. But when you've had that being your life, it's really hard. We all say it at the beginning, especially if we've had to have them euthanized. We all say, we're never going through that again. But, you have a hole that needs filling. So she was thinking, the fact all these kittens were coming up and she wasn't even looking, she was like, I wonder if it's, Titch and Crystal putting these kittens on my path type of thing. Or is it a sign that I need to be getting another animal? And Karen's big issue has been, since the sort of the seeding of this idea is it too soon? Are Titch and Crystal going to be really sad and upset with her for replacing them? For getting another animal? Has she got over, a lot of people, have they got over me already because they've already tried to get another animal? Now, Joe, unfortunately, has gone through losing Badger very, very unsuspecting. There was no illness or nothing. As I've said, this was following some dental surgery. But she's in exactly the same position. Empty home, nobody there to care for, nobody there to greet her when she comes home. And Badger was very much her boy. He was a life. So I really wanted to talk about it from a professional point of view, and B, in my experience working with animals that are already crossed over. Okay? What I get repeated time and time again from animals in spirit, and I've had it, I could certainly put some posts on where I've had this feedback, is animals in spirit do not feel like they are being replaced when their owner gets another animal. Now, it doesn't matter whether they've lost a dog and they buy a mouse, whether they've lost a dog and they get another dog, and that dog is identical to them. They don't see it that you're replacing them at all. They see it that you're finding somewhere for your love to go. And I find, certainly with the pet parents I work with, which absolutely there'll be lots of people that I don't work with, but all the pet parents I work with have got absolute hearts of gold, and they are ideal pet parents. They've got the love, they've got the respect, they've got the compassion, And, you know, we all know what people are like with the pets. We spend more on our pets than we do on ourselves very often, and we go without food if it meant, you know, we've got to feed the animal first. And this is the way the animals that have gone see it. The times I hear what a lovely life I had and how I knew I was loved, I knew I was cared for, and I wanted to look after my mum too, or my dad too. You know, they see their job as coming into our lives and them absolutely being there to look after you in the same way you are to them. So, of course, they want you to have another animal. They see it as it's just, it doesn't matter how long ago they've gone to spirit. It really doesn't matter, because in the spirit world, there is no time. Time is a man-made constraint for us to jump through hoops and do what we have to do. So as far as the animals are concerned at Rainbow Bridge, you know, it can be 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years to them. They don't see you getting an animal within a matter of weeks as a sign of disrespect or an acknowledgement about your lack of care for them. Far from it. They know that if you're desperate for another animal, it's because you've got so much love. Well, they've experienced that love. They want you to be happy. They want you to feel loved again. They want you to have a purpose again. So it just felt important to get that out there, because I know lots of people, they'll get another animal and then they're feeling guilty. Yeah, even thinking sometimes, even the thought, I might be moved. Is it right that I'm even thinking about getting it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your animals want you to do what makes you feel loved in whatever the way that might be. Okay? You have done your best for your animals in spirit, and your love needs somewhere to go. Yeah? And if you're an animal person, the only thing that's going to fill that space is an animal. So I just thought it was worth mentioning. As I say, I've had the three stories. A little, very quick, a little bit on the end. So Max, okay. So we'll just talk about this for a second, and then I'll wrap up. So Max, when I connected to Max again on Chris's request just today, I'd gone in with, you know, are you okay with your mum having Ollie? This and that. Oh no, Max was absolutely fine with it, because Max sent Ollie, apparently. He guided Chris to Ollie. And they are total polar opposites. Max was quite a calm, sedate gentleman. All right, he was older than Ollie. Ollie is absolutely like Tigger. But, funnily enough, I was told that Tigger, Ollie sees Max, and Chris has confirmed the way he behaves that Max had given me. Also, Chris has got a lovely little memory garden at the back of the garden for Max, and Ollie keeps taking his ball and putting it on. How would he know? He goes and puts his ball on Max's, you know, little memorial. And also, when he first arrived, Chris was walking around and showing him his Max's photo. That's your big brother, you know, he's at Rainbow Bridge. And she said she was in the shower one day, and he always comes up and waits outside for her. And she said she could hear him chunnering away and chatting away. She came out and he was looking at the picture and making noises as if he was talking to him, bless him. So very often, your animals in spirit will send you the animals that they want. They want to raise your awareness about. It happened with Karen. It's happened with Joe. So don't be beating yourself up. You're not betraying them. You're not letting them think that you love them any less or they don't matter anymore. You need to do what looks after you. That would be what your animals would say. And I haven't worn this T-shirt on purpose, but there's a message for all of us out. You might be back with: be gentle with yourself. And it couldn't be a more appropriate T-shirt, really, could it? So think on, do what you need to do to keep you happy, keep you loved, and keep you grounded and with a purpose, however long it may take you.